Pluribus Season 1 is out in full on Apple TV Plus. 9 episodes, around 45 minutes each. This is the new show from Vince Gilligan, the creator of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, the latter of which is one of my favorite television shows of all time. This reunites Vince with Rhea Seehorn, who was one of the stars of BCS, and with Albuquerque, which once again is the main setting of his show. And the show itself is a science fiction project where, in order to talk about it, I do have to kind of spoil at least the first episode and explain the premise. So we follow Carol Sturka, a successful writer of terrible books. She writes these smut fantasy novels, which even she realizes are rather lowbrow, but which are fantastically popular with the readers. And then one day there's an alien invasion. Kind of. A signal from another star system gets deciphered into a genetic sequence, which, when synthesized in a lab, turns out to be a virus that rapidly takes over humanity. And what it does is it joins every single person into this gigantic hive mind, with shared memories, consciousness, knowledge, and experiences, but with no more individuality. And for some reason, 13 people all across the globe are immune to it, including Carol. And the story goes from there. So I had high expectations for this show based on how much I like Better Call Saul, and I'm happy to say I loved it. Just like BCS, Pluribus is slow, deliberate, very patient in its frequently visual focused storytelling. It's got excellent writing, great unique ideas, and terrific acting. I love the central premise, and I love how, at least so far, the alien virus is not malevolent as you'd expect it to be. In fact, it seems quite the opposite, to want to help and satisfy Carol and the other individuals as much as possible. And this sets up the really interesting dilemma of wanting to keep your individuality, obviously, and joining with what by all metrics seems like a complete ultimate utopia. I love that the show handles most of the implications and consequences of that premise in a realistic way, with one tiny exception being things like a guy dressed in a DHL delivery driver clothes now performing surgery at a hospital, which I understand is meant to show how now any human can perform any task. But that scene happens multiple days after the apocalypse, so you'd expect that even these drones would have changed clothes by now. Um, I like the bold choice to have your protagonist be very unlikable. I know some people were turned off by that. Carol is certainly abrasive, selfish, arrogant, and kind of a general asshole. But one, I think a lot of her behavior can at least partially be explained by the crazy events she goes through and the grief after her partner. And two, I suspect Vince is setting this show up to be the opposite of Breaking Bad and BCS, where instead of a regular, perhaps even good guy slowly becoming a monster, you see a selfish asshole slowly, very slowly, claw her way back to being someone perhaps noble. Rhea Seehorn is great, so is Carolina Vidra and Carlos-Manuel Vesga, who are like the two most important secondary characters. I loved Samba Shute as Mr. Diabate. He was wonderfully hedonist and fun to see on screen. And finally, the cinematography. Once again, Vince Gilligan proves to be an incredibly proficient visual storyteller, where not only his framing and camera placement and movement and staging of the shots is masterful and leads to simply beautiful imagery, but he's also very adept at these long sequences where we follow a character performing a set of actions, often completely silently, and we have no idea initially what it is that they're even doing, and we get to slowly piece it together based on what we see. I love that trust in the audience and letting the show breathe and explain itself slowly. And I love that in an era of especially Netflix produced shows which insist on verbally explaining what is going on in every other scene, This is for another kind of viewer, one that is not distracted or impatient or watching their phone. This is a show that demands your attention and rewards it. And yes, it does feel unfinished at this point, and we clearly have to reserve some judgment until we see more seasons and where the story goes from here. But I think Gilligan has proven himself with being able to make shows that not only don't run out of steam, but become progressively better as the time goes on. So my only complaint at this stage is that season 2 of Pluribus is apparently not even being written as of yet, which means we'll probably have to wait for 2 years at minimum for the next one, which totally sucks. I would love to sit down and continue this story straight away, or at least weeks or months from now. For now, though, I am very happy with what we got. I think this is a smart show for a smart audience.